Hi, everyone. We are going to talk about overgeneralizing, and you had an assignment. This is not in the class reader, and the assignment is called hedging. So you should have looked at the paragraphs and compared them, and we'll discuss them now. So overgeneralizing, you may get a comment on your essay in places where the comment is overgeneralizing. So we're going to talk about what does that mean and how can you correct that? How can you know what that is? So overgeneralizing is saying something is absolutely true or absolutely not true. It's what we call all or nothing thinking. And so this has to do with stating things in a way that says it's the truth. So let's just remember here how we use modals. This is a basic way to express that there may be other ways to look at something, that there may be other ideas that are true about what we're saying. So if I say here, he is coming anytime today, I've used the simple present, and that means it's a fact. That means it's 100% true. If I say he must be coming anytime today, then it's 95%. I'm pretty sure it's true. There's 5% margin of error here. But if I use these modals, may, might, or could, it indicates that it's 50%. This isn't exact, but it could be, maybe not, maybe not. So it allows for other truths to be okay. And so we're going to look at the way you say things in your sentences and try to identify those areas where you're saying things that are too absolute, because that will make your writing less credible, less believable. Because remember, your audience is not just your teacher, it's all the people in the academic community, and you don't know what they know. They may be experts in the field that you're writing about, and they may know many other ideas than you have reported. And also, you need to be open that since we're a research community, there may be other findings that are supersede, that are new ideas to go on your ideas. So let's see here. So we're going to look at this worksheet that you read before we started this video. Is called hedging. And to hedge means to avoid giving a definite answer to a question. And sometimes that's a negative. If someone never wants to say something for certain, you ask them a question. But in academic writing, when you don't say something is absolutely true, that's considered, that allows for a lot of different possibilities and thinking. And so let's take a look at the reason why you would hedge is you don't want to sound like you know everything. There's so much to learn. There's so much that we don't know. So we use this technique called hedging. Part of it is grammar, like using the modals may, might, could, those types of words. And then there's some other words that you can use that are adverbs. So let's take a look. So you looked at the two paragraphs. This is the paragraph without hedging that was on your worksheet that you should have already read. And if you haven't, you need to stop and read it. And then this is the one with hedging. So it's the same exact paragraph, but it has some choices for different words. And all these words could be correct. You wouldn't use all of them together. But so I might use some, these days some students, or these days many students. And then the underlined words are more advanced hedges. So those are ones that students sometimes avoid because they're not sure exactly how to use them. So let's compare the sentences with and without sentence by sentence so we can get an idea of how this changes the meaning of the sentence in a positive way. Okay, so here's the first sentence. Without hedging, the sentence is, these days, students plagiarize their papers by using the internet. So that's like saying 100% true. And if I'm reading that, I might think, I don't plagiarize. I use the internet. So it's a little bit too much. So with hedging, the sentence changes to, these days. You could choose either of these. Some students plagiarize their papers by using the internet, or many students. You could do it other ways too, but here's two possible choices to soften what you're saying and allow for other possibilities. So you can kind of see the difference there. This is 100% true. This is, there's some that do, some that don't. All right, so sentence number 2, here's without hedges. They do not write their own papers or do their own homework. That sounds pretty absolute. And it sounds like it's not true. So you don't want to come off, you don't want to sound like you're saying something that's false in your academic writing. So here's with hedging. They do not write many of their own papers or do much of their own homework. So that sounds more like it. Like, okay, we're talking about a certain student. I know this student, the student has a little bit of a problem with time management, or so that sounds like it could be true to me. This one, no, not so much. Right, sentence number 3, students easily access the companies that sell various course papers via the internet. Well, we know that people have technological problems, they have Wi-Fi problems. It's not easy, right? We know that. So that sounds not true. So here, if you use the modal, here students can easily access. And then the many companies, because maybe some companies are hard to get a hold of or get connected to. So students can easily access the many companies that sell various course papers via the internet. So just those two little changes really makes a difference. This sounds much more accurate and much more true. Right, so sentence 4, without hedges, these students go to a website that sells papers and buy them. So, okay, here's what it looks like with the hedging. These students can essentially go to a website that sells papers and buy them. And then you had in the original, you had all these words together. You don't have to use them together. They're all correct. So I just wrote the sentence, the third example here. These students usually go to a website that sells papers and buy them. So you have several examples in the paragraph with hedging, and the underlined one, of course, is the one that's a little bit more advanced and a more of an advanced hedge. You could even take the can out. So these students essentially go to a website that sells papers and buy them. So I just wanted to show you that all of the choices are okay, and usually they're not used all together. All right, and then sentence 5. Without hedge, plagiarized papers get excellent grades. No, they don't, because sometimes they get failing grades. So this is absolutely not true. Okay, so here's occasionally plagiarized papers may perhaps get excellent grades. That's one way to say it. You could say may get excellent grades, or you could say perhaps get excellent grades. Here, sometimes plagiarized papers can get excellent grades. So it's nice to be able to vary your language. A lot of people are used to using the modals, the may, might, could, can, and they overuse them. So if you have some ways to vary your language, it makes your writing more interesting. So I like this for that reason too, because you can learn some other words to use for the same effect. Okay, so the next sentence is, in other cases, students get caught and expelled from the university. Okay, yeah, that happens, but I would say that there's many other things that happen to students when they get caught. So this sounds a little bit too much. In other cases, let's look at the second one. In other cases, students may get caught and potentially expelled from the university. So that gives the idea that there are other things that are possibilities. And then here we used another one of the hedges that were suggested in the paragraph too. In other cases, students may get caught and possibly expelled from the university. So, so there you can see it really does make a difference in um, the way it sounds when you read it. All right, and then sentence 7, educators feel that students need to fulfill their responsibilities in studying, and they say that students cheat by buying their papers. Okay, so that sounds like students are horrible, and I know that's not true. So here, educators usually feel that students need to fulfill their responsibilities in studying, and they say that students may cheat by buying some of their papers. And then another way educators may feel, and they say that students possibly cheat by buying many of their papers. So try this out in your own essay and try to look for places where you have used simple present, like one significant reason is, you may want to say maybe, or use some of this language so that you're not overgeneralizing. And if you have turned in your essay and you get back, because you're going to get back feedback, and where you see the comment from your teacher overgeneralizing, that's what this means. So this will make it so that you can do your own editing and know how to make those changes. So go ahead. Be sure you edit your essay for these types of errors, and we'll work on the sentences next week in our essay conferences where you've had problems. So thank you very much.